2146 is your SMS line at Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. Hashtag Business Emma. Now, a customs auction sale is the sale of goods the highest bidder, so as to dispose of goods not lawfully removed from the customs warehouse after a certain period. Now, the Kenya Revenue Authority auctions goods worth hundreds of millions. But what are the procedures to verify the containers or the various goods? And to help us understand all this, we're joined by the Kenya Revenue Authority Chief Manager of Inland Container Depot, Rosemary Mubaibe. Rosemary, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Simba. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Happy to have you around again. So let's talk about that now. And I want us to address the periods first, because that's what we are putting in our definition. How long does it take before somebody's goods are auctioned?
It takes about 45 days for goods to be auctioned. This is because for goods to be auctioned, it means the owners, the cargo owners have not come to declare their goods into our system and process them for removal.
Yes.
We have the East African Customs Management Act gives 21 days for goods to be entered. Then after 21 days, those goods are deemed to be under the control of the customs warehouse.
Yes.
So in view of that, then they start accruing warehouse rent, customs warehouse rent from the 21st day. And at that point, then we prepare what we call a warrant of entry list for making sure that we have recorded all the containers that are overdue. And the process for auction then begins by the gazettement of those goods for auction. When the goods are gazetted for purposes of making sure that the owners of the goods are notified that their goods have been gazetted for auctions, and they have 30 days within which they still have a chance to clear those goods from all the customs areas.
Yes.
Then a date is given for when the auction will take place and the location of the auction.
Pretty much.
So that is when now.
Yes. So let's move on to Rosemary this morning. What happens within this 21 to 30 days? Good. Once my goods land at the depot, I have 21 days to clear them off the depot. And then another 30 days also during that process, after you list them for auctioning, while I have the leeway to still come in and get my goods before they cross over to the auction. Is it possible for me to get it after the 21 days or after the 30 days? And do I still pay for the fees of the warehousing fees or the rent that you're talking about here?
Thank you, Mr. Simba. Within the 21 days is the expectation that anybody who really wants to clear their goods is able to clear them out within the 21 days.
Yes.
Then, of course, it is cheaper for them because there is no warehouse rent. But after 21 days, yes, they start accruing the warehouse rents because of the period that they've taken to without being cleared. But within the 30 days after gazettement of the goods, the owners are free to come in and clear their goods. But then warehouse rent is still due during that period.
I see.
And if the auction comes and the goods did not attract any offers during the auction, the owner is still able to clear those goods. Even after the auction date has come, the goods are not auctioned, he can still clear the goods.
All right, so let's move on to the next question this morning. I mean, from where you sit it, what are some of the reasons as to why most of the goods go into auctioning so that everybody is aware that this might happen?
There are several factors that affect the cargo owners and they're not able to clear the goods. Very, very common is being prepared to pay the taxes that are due
Yes.
on those goods. Maybe something happened in between and they were not able to to collect the money, put money together to pay taxes that have accrued on those goods. Two, maybe they don't have the right documentation from the country of supply to be able to clear those goods. For example, the certificate of conformity that is a requirement by Kenya Bureau of Standards for purposes of that those goods conform to the standards that have been set in this country. Other issues could be issues of contract between the supplier and themselves. The suppliers do not give them documents because they still have obligations that they have not met. And in the worst case scenario, maybe it's where the cargo owners go through a period of stress. Maybe something happens, they're not able to come in and clear their goods. Many things, sickness, death, all those other factors, those are things that we hear coming from the cargo owners as reasons why they're not able to clear their cargo in good time.
Yes. Rosemary, from what you said this morning, is it possible for you as KRA to foresee some of these reasons and maybe try and say, well, this one cannot be able to do that? Is it possible for all this to get settled before the containers come into the country? Or that's a process that you're not entirely involved in?
Yeah, not entirely involved in, because at the time somebody is making a purchase of those goods from the country of supply,
Yes.
customs is not. We are only aware of the goods when we get the manifest that declares that this vessel is coming or this aircraft and on board has so much cargo. That is when we become aware of what is coming in. So the process before that, we might not know what are the factors and what are the processes that the cargo owner has gone through to be able to ship in the goods into the country.
I know this question is going to sound a bit weird this morning, but I have to ask it. Is everything auctionable by KRA? Is there something that you can auction and have just wait for the owner to come for it?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. Of course, there are some things that are just very much customized to
Yes.
what the cargo owner wanted, and it might not attract any interest from anybody else. For example, a manufacturer could have a specific machine and he brings in that particular machine. It's not usable anywhere else. So we are not able to auction. But in such cases where we are not able to auction goods, after some time then we list them for destruction. And we also have other cases. Another example is where somebody brings in a car. He's not able to clear that car for some reason. It stays in our places of release until the standards for cabs are over. You're aware that you're not allowed to bring in any car that is over 8 years of age.
Yes.
So if a vehicle came last year, then it's age, then we'll not be able to auction that vehicle. So what we have at our disposal is to dispose of goods not auctionable.
Yes. All right, Rosemary, let me ask you this question as well this morning, therefore. I mean, we do know how auctions go. What is really attracts people to auctions is because then we tend to imagine that the goods that are getting auctioned are getting auctioned at a fair price. What do you normally look for? And does the auctioning that you do at KRA pretty much all the time cover for the unpaid import duty?
When we are considering doing an auction, there are several processes that go on before the auction.
Yes.
One, we have to determine what is the value of the taxes what is the value of that consignment, so that we are able to know what is the average amount expected as taxes to KRA. Okay, so when we are able to establish that, and that is established by making sure that before we carry out the auction, a verification is done on those goods to determine what they are. Are they consumables? Because this is done again with the other partner government agencies, including the Kenya Bureau of Standards is a critical part of this process, to also find out, are they okay to go into the market before we auction them? So the considerations we put in place, one is the value of the goods, the taxes due, and then we put a value is put on to the lowest that can be given out for those goods at the auction.
Yes. Rosemary, these are questions that are coming in right now as we speak about some of the reasons as to why people may not actually be able to get their goods within these 21 days or the 30 days, and then they realize that some of their wares have been listed for auctioning. Now, let me just read for you one of the comments that we've got right now. That Kiage, that's my name. Wow, thank you very much. That we are surrounded by trucks picking and dropping cargo containers. It's the inland cargo depot. So they're asking that sometimes it's possible for you not to get them within the 21 days, even when you know that they have arrived, because the process is quite tedious. Can she address that this morning?
Thank you, Mr. Simba. Yes, I do agree that once in a while we do have congestion, which is normal anywhere.
Yes.
But in ICT, I believe that anybody wanting to remove his consignment is able to remove his consignment within the stipulated time frames. In ICD, we have 4 days free of KPA damages within which to remove cargo. And I see a lot of people, over 65% of the cargo owners who are clearing their cargo through ICD being able to special reason to go to clear their cargo within the 21 days.
Yes.
However, if you have already entered your declaration and paid taxes, then there is no way that that consignment will be auctioned. And like I said earlier when we started the interview, is that cargo will not be auctioned before the lapse of 45 days.
Yes.
Remember, there's a 21 days that are the days you're expected to have entered and cleared your cargo. Then there's another 30 days after the gazettement of the goods. So that is an accumulative of around 40 days. So really, there is no way somebody will not be able to clear their cargo within the 21 days.
Yes. Pretty much. Rosemary, I gotta ask you this as well, because it's a question I'm also getting. I mean, it's there, so let me just put it outside there for you. Well, these politicians don't pay taxes because they know they can threaten KRA and nothing will be done to them. How can that be streamlined? Is that question you can answer this morning?
Unfortunately, for customs taxes, every Kenyan has to pay taxes.
Yes.
So yes, they pay taxes as required. They're treated like everybody else, unless it is maybe a government agency or another agency that has privileges to get exemptions.
Yes.
From where I sit, everybody pays tax.
Pretty much. Now, let's understand, therefore, would you say that auctioning of these goods that are not picked by their owners within this, I would say, 45 days, has been a bigger contributor to KRA's revenue as well, Rosemary?
I wouldn't say it has contributed to the tax of KRA,
Yes.
but remember, at the end of the day, what we're doing is trying to recover the revenue that is sitting with those containers as they continue sitting with us.
Yes.
But the real objective of the auction, one, is to make sure that we are not congesting our release point, and especially the ports. ICD, the Mombasa port, the airport, and other places where these goods are. We cannot continue having goods coming in and they're not being cleared out. Then we'll have no space to facilitate clearance of other goods.
Yes.
So one of the main objectives of auctioning is, one, to ensure that there is no congestion in our places of release, and number two, to recover the revenue that is being held, but those consignments that have overstayed in these spaces.
Pretty much. So anybody listening to you this morning as well would want to know any numbers from probably the auctions in the entire of the financial year 2019. Is it possible for us to get that?
2019, that was last year.
Yes.
We auctioned a total of, I think, about 60 containers, and we yielded a revenue of about 85 million.
What does that number state, Rosemary, from what you said it this morning? Is it a worrying number? Is it a number that would paint to some of the inefficiencies that happen when it comes to importing into the country?
Considering the numbers of containers that come in,
Yes.
that is a small percentage.
Yes.
Because from where I sit, for example, in ICT, we are releasing a total of about 600 TUs per day.
Yes.
TUs is the 20-foot equivalent. Yeah. So that means the number that we auction is a small percentage of the total of cargo volumes that we clear.
I see. Rosemary, thank you very much for taking your time to speak to Metropole Television this morning.
And thank you very much also for having me on board.
Anytime. And
Thank you and have a lovely day.
And that's exactly how we come to the end of our show this morning. My name is Simba Elijah Charles. Get a conversation going on at Metropole TVKE across all your social media platforms. Remember, 2146. Some of those questions that are coming in, we shall be sending also together, all of them, to Rosemary this morning, so you can see exactly what you have for her. Good morning.